continuing our series on Forecast 2014, and today we have with us international law expert Attorney Howard Calleja, and we'll be talking to him about issues concerning the Philippines and the international arena. Attorney Calleja, well, for starters, we heard this report that illegal Filipino immigrants in the U.S. have been recently deported. What do you think can we do about that?
That is already a given. Ever since there's already a real crackdown, not only for Filipinos per se, but really illegal immigrants to the United States. And I think we have to respect any state or any country being independent state to do whatever laws. I mean, us being visitors or aliens, I mean, or non-citizens, then we have to respect. I think the crackdown is not only, as I said, not only for the Philippines, but
for other illegal immigrants as well.
And actually, to be honest, a lot of these are South Americans, not or Central Americans, Mexico down to the South America, but not really Filipinos. It just so happens that, of course, there is still a lot of, or a big population of Filipino, I mean, within the Asian countries. Secondly, if you look at other issues, or I mean OFW or foreign issues.
Yes.
I think it would bring us to more of a concern on the OFW aspect, or of our not illegal immigrants, but really our workers, overseas workers abroad.
Yes.
I think more concern should be given to them.
What are you seeing? So far, there's the implementation of the Saudization policy, and Hong Kong is instilling stricter rules, and other places as well. So what's the impact of this, Attorney
It's
Calleja?
not only, I think this is a global impact. You started with the United States because they also would like to control the immigrants and aliens in the same light that the other nations in the Middle East, other Asian countries, not only Hong Kong but also Japan, are also, how you say, quote unquote, stricter, meaning their Saudization, or we put it as nationalization of their workforce. We have seen that because the economy is not really, I mean, everybody has to take care of its own economy, and every nation has to take care of its own economy, and every nation has to take care of its own citizens before taking care of outside citizens. Of course, they give priority to nationals, work within their nationals.
So you see this continuing, probably in 2014,
I see it
more
continuing
OFWs
not
home?
only in this country, but as I said, globally.
Yes.
Meaning it would decrease the availability of work for the Filipinos, number one. It would make it more difficult, meaning we would make sure, or we would have to make sure that our skills are matched to the work that is required or that is being looked for abroad. There's a lot of Filipinos who go and take their chance as tourists and then try to find lower skilled workers. I think hopefully we can deviate from that, and as I said, I am not a fan really of sending Filipinos abroad, especially since there are, as I said, since they're lower skilled, lower educated, more prone to abuse and more prone to being taken advantage.
What about OFWs in death row? Has the government given enough help, not only for those in death row, but those who are in serious legal cases in the country that they're working in?
I think for the last few years, led by the good Vice President, the OFW concern have been taken care of very well. Of course, there's still much room for an improvement. My continuing suggestion to that, especially with the migrant workers, is to have a real, honest-to-goodness legal service or legal advice, or legal department within the embassy. But the legal department or the legal advice or committee or whatever, or desk, whatever you should put it, should not begin when you get arrested or when you have a problem already. It should begin as looking into the state as whether or not it is capable of protecting the rights of the individuals.
What about the territorial row with China, the West Philippine Sea?
To be honest, Aminin, that again you talk about China, and then it's really a confluence of all issues. No?
At least the arbitration case.
Well,
what are we expecting for 2014?
Number one, I am happy because I have espoused that idea from the start. That even before all of this this conflict came about, I mean, was heightened. That really an issue within the UN or the UN law of the sea should be brought to hopefully settle this issue. But it is more of a bigger issue than just the West Philippine Sea. If you look at it, we are broiled between, or we are being pushed into a conflict. I wouldn't say shooting conflict, but of legal conflict, I would say, between China, and this includes Japan, Korea, and the Philippines. No? If you look at it, we would be the major players in this conflict, which involves China and its claim or exercise of authority, or they're trying to exercise their authority in the West Philippine Sea up to Japan. No? So I think this is a prevailing issue, a continuing, and I don't see it finishing in 2014. I experienced cases with the UN, with the law tribunals there, take some time. It would be a continuing legal issue, but I suggest it would be a multilateral approach rather than just a bilateral approach with China. Because if you look at it, it is not only the problem of the Philippines, but also there's also Malaysia, there's also Brunei, there's also Taiwan, there's also Vietnam.
What about the seeming support from Japan and the US with regards to that issue?
Well, to me, we have to be, how do you say it? We also have to be careful. We understand Japan and the United States are very willing, but we also have to think that China is also one of our biggest, if not our major trading partner, together with China and Japan. So we also have to be very careful. You know, you can be tough, but you don't have to be aggressive. We don't have to be in a shouting match, but we have to stand our ground.
What about the Sabah issue?
I hope it would not be forgotten.
Okay.
Because to me, there is a legitimate claim, and there is also a legitimate point on the part of the Malaysians. So both issues should be taken into consideration properly, so that, as I said, this is already a part of diplomacy. It is not something that we have to be strong against or that we have to brag about, but it is something that we have to finish. We also have to think that when we finish this, we also solve or help solve part of the problem in the South. In a lot of international conflicts, especially in this modern age, cooperation is the goal. It might be your place, it might be your administration, but it does not mean we can cooperate or use it together. There are a lot of resources that can be used or can be shared. So I think in the same light that the Sabah issue can be looked at it that way, I think the West Philippine Sea, the South China Sea issue can also be looked in that way. It can be shared, but as I said, not on a bilateral issue with China, but on a multilateral issue. Because to me, if it is a bilateral talk or bilateral issue, then technically, in one way or the other, I may or may not be directly or indirectly adopting or allowing the stand of China, because I'm bilaterally talking with them. Why not talk to Vietnam bilaterally, or why not talk to Malaysia when they too have a claim, but why only to China? So that's why I'm saying it has to be a multilateral approach. All nations concerned, not only one. My hope for 2014 is number one. Of course, we talked about our OFWs. As I said, it is time for us to improve our skill sets for them. And it's time for us to, if we cannot prevent really sending OFWs, I think we have to send more educated, more skillful OFWs. So number one. Number two, with regards to our continuing dual, let's say, international issues, which is the Sabah and which is the China or the West Philippine Sea conflict or South China Sea conflict, whatever you want to term it. To me, a continuing discussion should be pursued, and hopefully the case with the international courts can hopefully, how do you say, go on the next level. because it's on the level of acceptance, meaning of jurisdiction. Hopefully, it would come to the level of substantive, meaning whether or not really, who really has jurisdiction, authority, or administrative power over that, or governance in that area.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time, Attorney Calleja.
Thank you. Good afternoon.